A very good morning to everybody watching us this morning. It is the 9th of March 2026. Is it a really bright day in Nairobi?
Numbingly cold as you know it. Right now, most of you are not really having the blanket victory. And if you heard, congratulations. Wakey, wakey, they say. I will lay me down to sleep. I'll awake again because the good Lord sustains me. It's another day.
Absolutely. It's the day after International Women's Day. Who were you celebrating yesterday, Diba?
Yeah, of course, my mother, my wife, my daughter, yeah, my sisters, my colleagues, yes.
Yes.
And we celebrate also our own Dr. Monica Juma, right, who has been appointed to head the Office of United Nations office in Vienna. You know, one of the very exalted key positions when it comes to the hierarchy of United Nations.
Once again, happy International Women's Day to all women watching us this morning. The theme is Give to Gain. We were not here yesterday to wish them happy International Women's Day. Today is also Commonwealth Day. 52 countries worldwide are celebrating this day today. So happy Commonwealth Day today.
But how common is that wealth? That's what they normally ask. How common is the wealth?
Is it common?
Yes, because you can see the disparity is still there.
Yeah.
Is it because just we are a colony of the United Kingdom, you know, during that particular time? Yeah, but we have maybe some bilateral ties that favors us as well.
Because the United Kingdom are the host nation for the Commonwealth. But again, there is a crisis. Especially in Nairobi, the floods. How are the roads where you're coming from this morning?
Well, I think the water has tapered off, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the niggling worry is the ticking numbers there, because as we saw it yesterday, people are actually now thronging the mortuary. 23 bodies have been retrieved so far. And
that is Nairobi.
Yes, that is just Nairobi. And in fact, the highest number of the casualties was actually here in Nairobi. And so it really goes to show that since also the 1960s, we have not, you know, withdrawn that particular original master plan to come with a new master plan on how we can make sure that we have a very good, solid infrastructure when it comes to sewerage, when it comes to sanitation. Even the water master plan is still very archaic and old.
All right, so we'll be looking at that and very much more. Of course, we've talked about 23 fatalities so far, but of course, looking at it from the broader perspective, countrywide, it's around 42. So we'll be taking a look at the state of the weather, because this is expected to persist. The rains might drop, according to the Met Department. But of course, even as the rains continue to pour, then the effect of that water already on the grounds, then it will lead to more flooding if at all it will continue to rain. So
warnings, very important.
Warning.
You know, you take heed of what the Met is saying. You know, in the West, the Met Department is very key because they know the devastation of what can really happen with the weather, right? We have Texas, what will happen in North Carolina. You remember the floods that actually were there. So the Met Department, once they say, dalili ya mvua si
mawingu. Ni nini?
Wanasemaga dalili ya mvua si matope.
Dalili ya mvua ni mawingu. Actually, that's
so
the
we're waiting for matope all the time. But mawingu, if it's there, just take heed.
Yes. So tumezoea kupuza.
Kabisa.
There's a man under siege in Nairobi. But you know, in other counties, I don't know who's under siege, you know, in those other counties. But in Nairobi, Johnson Sakaja, you know, people are calling him Governor Bay. Have you heard of that, Governor Bay?
Well, Governor Dimple, Governor Bay, whatever. It must be some monikers from the ladies.
Governor Bay is under siege. So, of course, let's take a look at the state of the weather. We see how it's looking as of today, Monday, 9th of March. All right, let's take a look at the state of weather. And in its latest focus, the Kenya Meteorological Department says expected rains are likely to still cause flooding as the soils are saturated from prolonged wet spells since February. Let's see how it's looking this morning. Kitui, light rain expected today, and this morning it's 18 degrees. Highs of 24 degrees expected today. Meru is also raining this morning, 13 degrees it is, and highs of 19 degrees expected today. Busia is a partly sunny day, lucky them in Busia today. It's 18 degrees this morning, highs of 27 degrees expected here. We take a look at Eldoret. It's a mostly cloudy day as well, and it's 13 degrees this morning, highs of 22 degrees expected. Kisii is also partly sunny day today, so 16 degrees this morning and highs of 24 degrees expected. And in Nairobi, it's a mostly cloudy day today. This morning is 16 degrees and highs of 22 degrees expected today. Not so bad, Deba. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a fair weather that...
we need it?
Yeah, we need it. Just a break from what they're saying previously. So the rains, it had really devastation.
All right, that's the state of the weather. All right, as we continue the floods coverage, how it's looking across the country, 42 fatalities so far. The question you're asking you this morning is with regard to what is happening in the country. And we're asking you, Kenya is experiencing severe flooding in several regions. What measures do you think should be taken to prevent future disasters? Once again, Kenya is experiencing severe flooding in several regions. What measures do you think should be taken to prevent future disasters? Use the hashtag MorningCafeTV47. Send us a voice note or a video using our WhatsApp number or through our WhatsApp number 0793-267-279. Our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube and on X at TV47 Digital. And you can tag us. My handle is at Ann_Dida.
At Balanair.
The hashtag once again is Morning Cafe TV47. Let's have the quote of the day.
The only true barriers in life are those we mentally construct ourselves. Our beliefs, doubts, and fears often become the biggest limits to our full potential.
All right, time for the dailies, and we want to see what is fresh off the press. This morning, we begin with the Standard, the bold paper, and this is what is headlining, right? So let's just get to that through the newspaper the bumper is on. All right, this is what is headlining the front page of the Standard today. Impunity is a splash. It's all about sovereignty for sale. That is the kicker there. Sudanese warlord Al-Goni Hamdan Musa was granted a Kenyan passport on August 27, 2024, when Julius Bitok served as Principal Secretary for Immigration Services and Evelyn Cheluget as Director General. This reckless decision dented the credibility of Kenya's passport, one of the country's most trusted documents. Yet, despite being linked to the issuance of passports to foreigners with questionable backgrounds, including figures blacklisted by the United States, the two officials remain in office amid public outrage. And you have the spread of his story on page 4 and 5 of today's publication, and you can see also an insert where they had that particular story from the previous Standard, RSF passport shame, and it gives you all the gritty details on how that really ensued. So why are these key critical figures who also were oversighting this impunity, so to speak, still in office? Is this impunity? This is what the paper seems to be alluding to. You can follow the story on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. This is Julius Bitok, Principal Secretary, Immigration 2023, April 2025, who is now the presiding Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education. By then he was in Immigration. And there you have Evelyn Cheluget, Director Immigration Services. So these are questions that are still, of course, hovering on this impunity.
The government is
Your
yet to
passport
respond
is very important.
It is.
Right? And if it's for sale, it's like you're really selling the soul of a country.
Yes.
When it can be just given anyway, anyhow, willy-nilly. right? That's
how,
really...
how hard it is to get a passport in Kenya.
Yeah.
Your documents, your ID and your birth certificate has to be in check. If they're on check in terms of year, name, if a name is a miss, then you cannot get a Kenyan passport if you're a Kenyan. Then imagine somebody who's not Kenyan getting that passport quite easily because they just dialed an ATM and some money, you know, what churned out.
Yeah, of course, the clammy fingers of corruption will come through. If you have the money, it's easier for you to get the passport. Yeah, even the process itself. You know, even the officials will tell you, okay, so how long or how soon do you want it? Yeah, but we've seen there were attempts also from the government to try and expedite that. I remember one of the relatives was actually seeking a passport, and she was actually shocked that it came through within a week. She was like, oh my goodness, can you talk to someone that you know within the immigration department for me to be getting my passport soon so that I don't miss out on, you know, the flight or for the workshop that I'm supposed to be attending outside the country, right? And so they were a bit antsy. So they were seeking if probably you know someone that can help me. And that has been the language.
Yes.
Right? So when it actually came within a week, she called me and she said, I can't believe it. Within a week?
Yeah.
Since I made an application, this is not Kenya. So we said, okay, there are reforms which are working. We know what happened with the printer before, and you know, the way numbers were mulling, or they're just adding up, people could not really get access to passport. But that has been sorted out. But still, well, there are few individuals who maybe are gamming the system, so to speak.
We have normalized delays of passports so much in this country, such that when it comes early like that, it's a surprise to many, right?
It was a money-minting thing.
It is.
So you just want to get some money there.
You know, it's crazy because the government is yet to respond to this, this passport saga that is happening. A lot has been happening in the country, in the world rather. The war between the US and Israel and Iran. We had that chopper that killed the Sikhs in Narok. And then now we have the floods. Everything is just happening. They're addressing every other thing but this. There's something quite interesting here that has been mentioned in the inside pages, and it's a quote by the DCI director. It says, not long ago, we investigated and arrested registration of persons, officers who are colluding with cartels to issue national identity cards to foreigners. And there's somewhere here, still on the top strip of page 4, it says that Immigration Department has now embarked on an exercise to clean its trucks. So they're cleaning their trucks, but a response, you were waiting for a response or feedback regarding this? Good stuff, good stuff.
All right. Also, you want to pick up a copy of the Standard and head over to page 10. Very interesting story because tomorrow is a big day with the UDA and ODM NADCO reports being presented to the parliamentary group at Kenya International Convention Center. But here we have a very interesting story and a twist to it where we see the Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna insisting that March the 7th, right? That was on Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the deadline to implement the MOU of that is a memorandum of understanding that was established. That is the 10-point agenda that we're discussing here. And he said the agreement expressly provided that the practice of arbitrarily arresting young people be put on immediate end. That has not been implemented. But he says now, since that particular date was done and dusted, this particular meeting tomorrow is immaterial, right? And he says this particular memorandum, as it stands right now, it's illegal. So you want to read the rest of the details there. So according to him, the agreement was that by the end of the March 7th, the committee should have given the country a comprehensive framework of implementation of a 2/3 agenda rule. Sifuna said the Linda Mwananchi team will give their report on Wednesday about how the MOU signed by Raila and President William Ruto has not been implemented. So it seems we'll have two, right? One presentation on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday
we have another.
We have another report on how it's not been implemented. Well, that will really make a very good a space to look out on how that political landscape will be playing out Tuesday and Wednesday. So we have the Linda
Ground.
Linda Ground on tomorrow.
Yes.
And then we have Linda Mwananchi on Wednesday.
Lindas are going through it.
Right, so you want to get that scoop on page 10 of the Standard.
The Ruto re-election. Is Sifuna eating Lusaka's lunch in Western Kenya?
Well,
That's the
it seems
question.
right now, of
Page
course,
11.
he's been getting a lot of eyeballs recently. Really, even if we look at the recent poll by the Star here in Nairobi, he stands at 46.7%.
He's leading.
Yeah, he's leading when it comes to senatorial seat, of course, closely followed by Babu Owino. So, in Western Kenya, should we even discuss that? Let's leave it at that.
So yes, all right. Let's take a look at what the Star is reporting. Taifa Leo is reporting this morning. Ni siasa ya kifua. Wanasema kwamba serikali yaamua kutumia nguvu ya dola kuhangaisha watu wanaoonekana kupinga msimamo yake ya kisiasa. Mwenye nguvu wanapimana kifua hapa. Mlinzi wa Orengo na maafisa 8 wa serikali yake wakamatwa na kuzuiliwa, huku viongozi wa upinzani wakihangaishwa katika mikutano ya kisiasa kule Meru. Jana walizuiwa kuhudhuria ibada kanisani kule Kaaga Methodist. But I've seen a report by People Daily, and they say that they have been released. So, of course, after the CIA governor demanded for their release, there were no charges that were leveled against them. So they were just released like that. But again, they say that if you are against the government, if you're against President William Ruto, then you're arrested. That is what this story is about. It's on page 2. Na kuna picha mbili hapa. Kuna Inspector General wa polisi Douglas Kanja na kuna huyo gavana wa Siaya James Orengo ambaye yuko hapo kando pia. And then hapa katikati viongozi wa upinzani Kalonzo Musyoka kushoto na Rigathi Gachagua pamoja na wanasiasa wengine wa upinzani wakihutubia wanahabari jijini Nairobi hivi majuzi. You see, this is happening in Siaya and in Meru. You see how also the deputy president was, ile kurudishana maneno. Huku ni kwangu, utaniambia nini?
Not the very current sitting deputy president, utaniletea, right?
Like
utaniletea, mambo ni fire. Mambo ni fire, si fire.
Is it fire, si fire? Noma, si noma?
Noma, si noma.
Si noma, this is not deputy president like. Because no one is asking you if you are deputy president or not. Nobody's fighting you. The whole nation knows he is the deputy president. I feel like there are other important things to be, to be focusing on at this point. We have the floods. But
the whole debate is really circulating about that particular seat.
It doesn't matter.
People are saying, oh, that particular seat now should actually go to, it's 50-50. If we want power, yeah, and the reducible minimum is actually the seat of the deputy president right now. Yeah. Yes, so there are many suggestions that are coming from ODM, even from Mount Kenya, say, oh, if you take this seat away from us, you're losing the entire block of Mount Kenya as it stands right now. So it's a very controversial place where the president is. A very ticklish issue when it touches that particular seat as it stands. So yesterday was very interesting because all of them were heading for the installation of a bishop there in Meru. But apparently, it seems now people from the United Alternative Government could not really access that particular church because the deputy president was there. And we saw even some of the security operatives now of the United Alternative Government principles. Most of them were actually shooed off. Yeah, and the gate closed. So they had to attend another church where now they were given podium now to speak against what was happening. Yeah, on that other church they were not getting access to because of these political intrigues that we have. Yeah. This has really come now to church. Very interesting.
Campaigns full mode. Again, that is not very the deputy president like, because there are other things, there are other important things at least to respond to. Anyway, that's the main story here on
politics at the end of the day.
Taifa Leo this morning, and it's on page 2. Wabunge wa mnyima Musalia pesa ni habari nyingine katika ukurasa wa pili. Una mwaka mmoja tu wa kufanya KCSE. Serikali yaanza kubinafsisha bandari kule Pwani na masala ya floods. What is floods in Swahili? Has also been covered here. Mafuriko Basi yabainika bajeti ya mabilioni ilitengwa kuepusha hatari, ilhali mafuriko yameua angaa raia 42. Maafisa walioazimisha Kenya majini. Taifa Leo.
Yeah, that's Taifa Leo, the nation, in English right now. Flood warnings that were ignored. This is what is headlining the front page of the Daily Nation right now. Death toll from deluge, as you'll say, it rises to 42. Auditor General Nancy Gathungu in a 2024 audit following devastating floods exposed systemic weakness, including ignored early warnings from the Kenya Meteorological Department. The report recommended measures to improve the state's emergency response, but as it gathers dust, disaster has struck again 2 years later with tragic consequences. You have a story on page 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Daily Nation, and you can see how it was just water everywhere. Children crossing a flooded section of their home at Konyango village in Kwala, location, Homa Bay County. This is yesterday. At least 300 people have been displaced by floods in the area, and drowned in floods. Also, our faces here spread on the front page of the Daily Nation. Geoffrey Rono, Martin Amani, Ray Taji, or a small boy there, Philip Omondi, Alex Njuki, Rose Kumuran. These are people who have been affected and taken away by the floods. Very devastating news there. On the side, but there, ports on sale. The government is in the final stages of repealing the Kenya Ports Authority Act to pave the way for the privatization of sections of Mombasa Port and 3 berths at Lamu Port. You can follow the story on page 8 of the Daily Nation this morning. Also on the teaser, strong arm tactics. Government critics have accused states of waging a vicious crackdown on leaders of the United Opposition and Orange Democratic Movement rebels, citing arrest ahead of President William Ruto's visit to Siaya and a police blockade at church in Meru, attended by Deputy President Kindiki. This is what we were just discussing with Anne here. The story is well fleshed out for you on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. Let's move on to find out also what we have on the front page of the Business Daily, or what do you have here?
People Daily, the big 4 billion Kenyan shillings health scandal, riddle of how shifts paid bills for women who delivered multiple times a year, while others had several open heart surgeries a day. Now, this is a story on page 6, and it's not the first time we're seeing a headline like this. Sometime back in August of 2025, if you can remember, there were claims and concerns that there was a hospital in Homa Bay, dispensary, the Mviwa dispensary, where 20 billion shillings were paid as claims to that hospital. 20 billion shillings. 20 billion shillings.
20 billion shillings.
20. 20. Is it how you're shocked?
We are here, yeah.
Right now we're talking about 4 billion shillings. So it's something that we keep on seeing. And for Mviwa, it was ghost... what are they called? Ghost patients, ghost facility. Well, this is just, another story of what we saw last year. So I don't know who is supposed to respond to this. And the People Daily call it sick games this morning. Other quick headlines here. Stakeholders question proposed 5 trillion shillings National Infrastructure Fund. I remember the members of parliament passed it on Thursday last week. It's supposed to be centered into law by President William Ruto any time. Nairobi's lungs, the battle for Karura Forest amid concerns of degradation, and that's the People Daily.
All right. That's the People Daily. Let's see what we have in the Business Daily. We buckle down to business right now. And broker gets 1 billion shillings bonus for hitting KPC IPO target. Right? If you now didn't actually get that particular share of the KPC, maybe you're missing out. We can see someone also were getting 1 billion shillings. That is a Faida Investment Bank. Is set for a 1.16 billion shillings fee windfall for successfully leading the Kenya Pipeline Company initial public offering to a full subscription, highlighting the lucrative returns for intermediaries who handle mega capital, I should say, raising deals. And the government was a bit antsy. People from the beginning were not really picking up on this particular IPO from KPC. But towards the end, oversubscription, and this is where we have now Faida Bank really also benefiting from it. Still on the front page of the Business Daily, CA reviews, Airtel, Alcon, CA reviews, Airtel, Elon Musk deal amid calls, interference fears. The Communications Authority of Kenya has started a review of a deal between Airtel Kenya and Elon Musk's Starlink. This story continues on page 2 of the Business Daily. Oparanya teams 6 troubled SACCO's special funds scheme that is on the ticker. Jubilee says 2 billion shillings from the sale of Nairobi CBD office. You can actually read the story on page 6. Jubilee eyes 2 billion shillings from the sale of Nairobi CBD office. And pensions equity holdings rise to 312 billion shillings on NSE rally. That story continues on page 14 of the Business Daily. Crispin Achola is a person in the news today. And this is the CEO of BAT. They made a historic, of course, dividends offer that has never really happened in the history of BAT and also in this country. Everyone was saying, wow. So if I had some shares in BAT, oh my. 70 shillings per share? That was a good one.
All
That's
right.
the Business Daily.
Let's take a quick headlines. We are almost running out of time. The Star talks about how businesses will be affected with regard to the US-Israeli attack on Iran. It says Kenyan businesses and families to feel heat of Iran-US war. Escalating conflict has already disrupted oil supplies and trade routes. It's talking about the Strait of Hormuz, which is still locked by the Iran. Any vessel that is expected to pass there, of course, it will be attacked, according to Iran, right? So Strait of Hormuz, at least 20% of the world's oil passes through that road. So if that is blocked, then we know what is going to happen.
We're talking 17 billion barrels a day.
Yes.
A day.
A day.
That passes through Strait of Hormuz.
1 in 5.
So you can just imagine what sort of shortfalls we'll have if this persists.
Absolutely. But in Kenya last week, the energy CS said that we have enough oil until end of April this year. So according to this, yes,
not enough
no
oil.
need to.
You
no
can't
need to
really
worry.
say enough oil with the blackouts that is really happening right now.
Yeah.
April? Really? We need stockpiles, and we'll tell you, assurance should be until the end of the year.
Listen, we are going, whether you like it or not, you're going to Singapore.
The blowbacks, you cannot feel the blowbacks yet. It's still way too early. No, that is not an assurance.
Let's
Next month, April.
Diva.
Really? Yeah,
Let's
but
cross
also
over
the latest
borders.
development there is we have also the son of Khamenei
Yes.
has been now officially recognized as the next supreme leader. So that is a very also pivotal development because the US has said even the next leader that you will actually install, we're going to pop him out.
We cross over now to Uganda. We start off with the Daily Monitor. It talks about endangered tribes, and in the last 11 years, they say the population of some minority communities have significantly dwindled. This trend, government officials say, is worrying and calls for urgent research to find out what is happening and how this decline in numbers can be reversed. That is a Daily Monitor this morning. Let's cross over to Tanzania, Bongo. We take a look at gazeti la Mwananchi. Ujumbe wa haki na usawa kwa wanawake watawala. Yesterday once again was International Women's Day, and wanawake waadhimisha siku yao kwa mtindo tofauti kila kona kule Tanzania. Rais Samia akitoa ujumbe akigusia ujasiri kujituma. Polisi Bawacha wavutana, mabomu yafuatiliwa, kutubiwa shughuli yao. Again, theme for 2026 International Women's Day is Give to Gain. The Citizen talks about East African community reforms rekindle integration optimism. It says that the EAC has made a series of bold decisions aimed at stabilizing the regional bloc after months of financial strain and growing concerns about the pace of regional integration. And of course, the story about International Women's Day has also been covered here on the front page, women's role in economy and the spotlight. And thus, as far as the regional dailies are concerned, let's take a look at the caricatures this morning. We start off with the one on the... Which one do you have, Dibao?
I have the Stano here in the People Daily, and it's all about Singapore Road. Ended up in Singapore. which has no drainage systems, as you can see it right now. This was just being picked also from the socials where we have a sinker hole, right? So en route to Singapore, we are in a sinker hole as well.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a
Stunner stick. Same story, same cartoon on the, this is the star ozone, yeah? City Hall, the arc is all holes. So city hall in a city hall. And of course, the Governor Bay and Siege, he's inside the arc. That is the star this morning.
Right, we have also the Daily Nation with Iger, and you can see as they're hovering there in the sky, people now they're reaching out to get some help from this way. One time, two time is what they're crying out, but the Wananchi is crying out for help.
And that's what
right
I was
now,
talking about.
Serikali.
We have better things to address, really. Finally, we have the one on the Standard, talks about NADCO report. And we see both UDA and ODM shaking hands on the NADCO report. What do you think about that? That's the one on the Standard this morning.
Yes.
And once again, our question of the day, we are asking with regard to what is currently happening with the floods. 42 death toll so far, and we're asking you this morning, Kenya is experiencing severe flooding in several regions. What measures do you think should be taken to prevent future disasters? Once again, Kenya is experiencing severe flooding in several regions. What measures do you think should be taken to prevent future disasters? Use the hashtag Morning Cafe TV 47. Our WhatsApp number is 0793267279. Our socials TV 47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. You can tag us. My handle is at @N_Dida.
Adibola Nair.
We have guests already in studio. We have Kipruto Rapkira, former Agriculture Cabinet Minister. Kathy Rungu, governance expert, is already in studio as well as FCPA Husband Omolo, a governance expert. They are all in studio, of course, for the state of the nation. Stay with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. We'll see you after the break.
Welcome back. You're watching a Morning Cafe here on TV47. It is time now to buckle down to discuss with our panelists on a raft of issues, a host of them, of course, focusing on the floods. That is related to the question of the day that we've been asking you as well, knowing that right now the number has ticked up to 42. And this is really devastating amidst warning that we had from the Met Department on the 3rd and 4th of March that heavy downpour will be here. But how prepared were we as a country? We saw also the city mortuary being thronged by many Kenyans seeking to find out the whereabouts of their loved ones. 23 bodies so far have been identified there, and this number is bound to be rising. But as a country, why are we still none the wiser when it comes to these tragedies? Devastation of the floods is not the first time we've had in the country. We have a National Harvesting and Storage Authority, Water Harvesting and Storage Authority in this country. What does this particular state corporation do when it comes to preparedness as well? But let's just listen into what some of the leaders have to say before also we show the faces of the panelists this morning.
Pale Nairobi tumepata aibu kubwa sana. Huyu Ruto anasema ati Kenya itakuwa kama Singapore. Sasa Singapore hii drainage hakuna, watu wamekufa zaidi ya 10. Everything has broken down. Destruction of property. And then you are telling Kenyans that you want to take them to Singapore when you cannot even fix simple issues like drainage in the capital city of Kenya. We want to send our condolences to those who have lost their loved ones. We are sorry, but we want to assure them we will fix this country. Ruto and Sakaja must be one term so that we restore the dignity of Nairobi. We bring back sanity in the capital city so that we have working systems in the city of Nairobi.
Residents living along front plains and riparian reserves are strongly urged to relocate to safer grounds immediately to protect lives and allow restoration.
Kenyans are now being urged to remain vigilant.
Because soils are already waterlogged due to the heavy rains, the risk of flooding, landslides, and water contamination remains high.
Well, they're always told, right, relocate to higher grounds. Where are these higher grounds that the government really talks about? Also, we need to interrogate that. Also, we need to look at what the Principal Secretary and Moses Kuria, they had to say on socials regarding this persistent, of course, floods. We know Moses Kuria at one point also has shown interest on running for gubernatorial seat in Nairobi, but that has since changed. And this is what he says. The flooding witnessed in parts of Nairobi is deeply concerning, unacceptable, and calls for urgent, decisive action. This is the Principal Secretary, Principal Cabinet Minister, I should say. This is Musalia Mudavadi. He says it also reinforces the critical need for collaboration between national government and Nairobi City County in improving service delivery and protecting our residents. I extend my condolences to the families who have lost loved ones and wish a swift recovery to those injured following the floods in several areas of the city. In the coming days, we will deploy all necessary efforts to clear blocked drainage system and restore proper water flow across the city. Nairobi remains a major regional hub and must be kept clean, safe and well managed to reflect its standing in Africa. As chair of the National Government Nairobi County Steering Committee, I am driving a focused effort to address drainage, sanitation, lighting and urban maintenance. Our goal is clear. Nairobi must and will reclaim its stature as a green city in the sun, clean, organized, secure, and globally competitive. Let's see what Moses Kuria had to say. He said this: I have said consistently that you cannot administer Piriton where surgery is required. Nairobi requires a new governor, not even receiver manager. Musalia and 8 billion shillings can save the city. And it says tonight the Nairobi naval forces have taken over the 4 flooding city. Anyway, what does a villager like me know about the city? Also, we have Sifunas there. As part of the leadership in Nairobi, you will hear no excuses from me. Yesterday's flood situation was an indictment. We know it's a sum total of many failures, but mostly failures of leadership. We must do better because you don't deserve this. For all those who slept on the roads, those counting losses from the flood damage, poleni sana. Sadly, the county disaster team has confirmed to me that multiple lives were also lost. My office has sent our teams to assess the situation and see how we can help. Meanwhile, it is obvious that we need a comprehensive review of how the city drains because the piecemeal interventions are not working. I extend my deepest condolences to the families who lost their loved ones last night. Poleni sana, he says. These are just some of the sentiments coming from our leaders as well. And we just want to discuss this because this was written on the wall. It is not new to Kenyans. And we wonder, how does the government really plan? This is reactionary, it is really uncalled for, and Kenyans deserves better. Allow me to introduce to you Kipruto Rapkirwa, former Agriculture Cabinet Minister, governance also and policy analyst. We have with us as well Kathy Rungu, governance expert. We have FCPA Hesbon Omolo, governance expert as well. Good morning, gentlemen and lady.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us this morning. I know it's numbingly cold even now. Just getting blanket victory and having you in studio is such a win for us. So we want to thank you so much. All right, let me just begin with Kipruto Rapkirwa, because I know also you're a big farmer. I don't know how these rains have adversely affected your harvest, or if at all maybe your plowing of the land as it is, because I know where you come from, maize is big as well. But let's just begin there, highlighting just the devastation that we've seen so far and the reaction from the government.
First of all, let me pass my condolences to the families and friends who have lost their loved ones. It is a disaster that can be avoided. But in some cases like this year, honestly, the rains came much earlier than expected. And of course, we had been told, and therefore we expected the drainages to be cleaned and also to assess the capacity. I saw a number of vehicles in one of the estates being carried literally from where they were parked up to some other people's gates. The second issue is that we must also interrogate the issue of land use in Kenya. You realize most of the riparian areas that were meant to check the flow of water, they have been decimated to the extent that they have become like farming entities for purposes of doing some vegetables and other crops. That creates a lot of problem because it allows water to flow so fast and move to a situation that is beyond the capacity of the flow. The second issue is that when the rains came, they came heavy. Because usually when the rains start and prepare some kind of grass, that will assist to check the flow. Now, the final thing is the reaction of those who ought to be responsible for ensuring that people are safe was a bit poor. Because I would have expected even from February, January, that most of the drainages, like in some of the flat estates, to be cleared. Because it's not just the size of the drainage, it is the fact that the drainages are flooded with a lot of takataka, and in the process, water flows out of the normal channel. And it would have been, I would have expected Sakaja to tell us where the boat went, because ostensibly he had already said there was a boat, which he bought for purposes of ensuring that people can navigate the floods. But given the strength and the size of the floods, it would have been also impossible to use that same boat. I don't know whether it was on hire or it was bought and is lying idle instead of being utilized.
The inflatables boats that he had actually...
He had told us that he had bought. And also what is very important, I think the government and those in responsible positions should ensure that we save this country. Every year we lose almost 3 feet of soil into the oceans. If you are to go to some of the counties like Kajiado, counties like Narok, and even some of the parts of Rift Valley in Nakuru, a lot of degradation has taken place, and it therefore means with little rain, all the water gets into the canals, and that's why it carries people. And this means we must do what we call issues of not really drainage in this case. We must do terraces. The gabions that President Mo used to do in some parts of Ukambani, we no longer hear of that. And it just takes one person to travel out of Nairobi, and you'll see some of these challenges. And the lower parts of Nyanza, that every year people cry. You've had 300 members of families are now removed from their homes. We must be able to seek alternative places for these people to go. And finally, the issue of the forest. You hear even Karura here is under a lot of threat. These are areas that we invest in jungle, what we call a concrete jungle, and in the process a lot of water gathers from the upper parts of Nairobi and it goes towards South Sea and some parts of South B. These are the problems that we face, and they can be avoided. It just needs somebody to be keen and also to use the resources where they are wanted.
Yeah. Interesting. Of course, even last week we just observing the Wangari Maathai Day, and how she has been a champion and an avatar of trying to make sure that some of these sanctuaries that we have in the country are preserved. Karura Forest is one of them. The canopy there has been degrading for the ensuing years, for the past few years that we've seen. And even as you're talking about it, the threat is the NOS trying to install its its barracks within Karura Forest that has raised a lot of uproar and people raising hesitation with that particular move as well. So does it really go to show also our premium attention to some of the sanctuaries, Mao or Forest, which has been also under threat, people infiltrating there, people being told to go and even have shambas within some of these forests as well? Could you maybe just also tell us more, Husband?
Yeah, thank you, Dibel. And allow me also to start by saying pole to the thousands of Kenyans who've been devastated with the floods. And sadly, we've lost many lives. And this time, Nairobi has been probably the worst affected in the entire country. So I think as a country, we need to ask ourselves, to what extent do we want to abide by our own structural programs and plans around how we manage our environment? If you go to Mau, just like you mentioned, there's a lot of encroachment, and definitely in several other waterways upstream. So the process through which the land can be able to absorb and slow down the flow of water during storms is affected, and therefore a lot of water finds its way very quickly downstream, and that affects the entire flow. But coming back to the issues of how we plan around some of these things, you could see that this was avoidable. Not long ago, I think when Kidero was the governor of this city, we had serious floods in this city, and there were plans to change things. Nairobi has a master plan that was developed in 2014, clearly defining how some of these areas can be looked around. And if you just look at the topography, some of our informal settlements are in very low-lying areas. You look at the drainages in those spaces, you can see there's a problem that is coming up there. As we make approvals for these development plans, the very big high-rise buildings we are constructing, what about the accompanying infrastructure, drainage systems?
Yes.
We are not putting enough resources in those spaces. So when these huge storms come, you can almost be certain that we're going to have problems. I come from a place that has now 300 people displaced, Homa Bay. And it's bad. I was in Homa Bay yesterday. Those people are struggling. What do we do? So the government has to step in very quickly to ensure that diseases and things like that don't crop up. Learning has also been disrupted in those areas. But you can also see within the same region, if you go to the Nyando, which gets a lot of rain from Nandi Hills, there was some element of preparedness in terms of just trying to clear, desilting the rivers. And as much as the waters have risen, the devastation is not to the extent that we've seen before. So yes, there are certain things you cannot prevent, but with certain measures, the impact can be ameliorated. So I think it's something that we must ask ourselves as a country. What kind of environment or leadership do we want to put in place to ensure that the lives of Kenyans are protected? So I join Waziri in just conveying not just condolences, but also calling upon the leadership to step up. Both the national government, the various agencies that are supposed to deal with these things, the early warning signs are there. The Met Department, government has people who are paid. So if this warning signs was shared with the various leadership across the country, what did they do with it? Every county in this country plans for emergencies related to things like this. Do they trigger those warning signs? So we must ask ourselves very critical questions, but beyond that, we must also ensure that as a country, we do not get to see this again. So beyond the flashy, I bought a boat by governor, it's not enough. This governor knows that this city, every other day they make approval of plans for buildings. Do they accompany them in infrastructure? Nairobi is a city where today, in upmarket estates, you see all manner of trucks with clean water. It's a clear demonstration that systems are failing. People are not putting the right resources in the required spaces. So this is just one. So you could see it building up and coming up. The various riparian lands, we've put up buildings there. So we block the water pathway, and then it becomes just devastating. So I'm hoping that even as we look at things like the restoration of Nairobi River, we will look at that plan, expand those dikes in a manner that allows more capacity of water to be channeled through those spaces, but also just consistently do desiltation. I don't hear much of that in Nairobi. I know in other regions, they do it, especially in those farming communities that look at the downstream areas. So it's important that as a country, we really don't get there again.
Indeed, indeed, and thank you so much. So is it the problem of leadership, or there's just a systemic failure within, the county itself? As we see it, because we've seen different leaders taking over Nairobi County, but still we have the same perennial, problems. A violation of building codes. We have, as you mentioned, some of these estates that have, the building should not have gone beyond maybe 2 stories. Now we have stories going up to 16, 19, 20 floors as it stands right now. There is just a brazen violation of the density, because I think even in this city, the building code have been apportioned according to the density of a city. In Karen and maybe in Eastlands, it's diametrically different. You have a higher density there, but not maybe in Karen, because also of the water table that we do have at the end of the day. So is it a systemic failure that we do have, or it's a leadership? You can have a very good leader and then you install him there, but still you'll have these problems still, evolving and getting maybe new nuances at the end of the day. Kathy?
The way I look at it myself, because I've been a city dweller for a decade plus, and this is something that was going to happen anyway. And at times when I listen to people blame Sakaja, for example, I ask myself, have you not been observing? And if you check around, we have increased, just like you're saying, the high-rise buildings that are coming up all over the place, especially the upmarket areas, the Kilimanis, the Kileleshwa, Lavington, and all those places. And if you look back, the situation is just getting worse. We had floods last year. There was a bit of unclogging that was done. I saw so many vijanas out there, unclogging and getting the garbage out of the tunnels. But for me, the question I'm asking myself is, what was supposed to come first? Is it the infrastructure? And I'm talking about the drainage system, the sewer system, or the buildings that we are seeing all over. Investment is good. And of course, we know that a lot of this investment in Nairobi is done actually by the people we call investors, who are largely foreigners. And how some of this structural work is approved by an NCA and also by the county government is worrying. Now the question is, at this point we'll complain. You know, Kenyans, we have a very, I don't know whether we tend to forget or we have a short memory or it's just the way we like doing things. Today we'll talk about the floods. We'll forget about the floods in the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and we start, politicking about other issues, just like you have seen. Because I think actually what is happening, the people in the opposition, and I'm in the opposition, we are actually quick to say this is a problem of Sakaja and the president and therefore they are one term. I mean, it doesn't make sense at all to me because this is like a historic issue. If you go back, and I like the fact that Waziri mentioned, even during the first governor of Nairobi, His Excellency Kidero, we had floods. We had floods during Sonko. We had floods during the NMS. And we're having floods today. What are we not doing different? Because something needs to give. And to me, it's a matter of focusing on the infrastructure, even as we develop. We want to do all these, high-rise building, real estate is coming up and people are making money and all that. But no, we must stop and ask ourselves, why are we approving even in areas where construction is not supposed to happen? To me, politics is not doing us justice. Because I remember during the Uhuru Kenyatta regime, there was demolition, if you remember, of very many buildings, including petrol stations and hotels that were built along, the riparian land. But immediately, Uhuru got out of government and we got a new government. I remember, and I can quote a certain place around Kileleshwa, and it is known that place, there was a petrol station and a restaurant. They were brought down, but immediately regimes changed.
Yep.
The petrol station came back, the restaurant came back. So really, I think we need to get responsible and say we are not going to play politics with the lives of Kenyans, because that is what we are doing literally.
Indeed. Yeah. Of course, let's just listen into some of the views that are coming to hand right now, and Kenya consoling Kenyans. Let's just listen in.
And I'd like to start by saying that heavy rains alone should not flood a well-planned city. And consequently, some of the measures that I think should be taken to prevent future disasters like this include properly designed stormwater drainage systems, separate sewer and rainwater channels, and then we can have regular maintenance of drains within the city mostly, and adequate, not just within the city, but through the country, and adequate urban planning. In reference to Singapore or Amsterdam, I'd like to say that they regularly experience heavy rain, but rarely will you see roads turning into rivers there. And this is majorly because their drainage infrastructure is designed for it. So this is what we need.
Kenya is experiencing severe floods in several regions, and I think the best measures to be taken is involve persons with disabilities in the climate change mitigations. Most of the time, persons with disabilities are not being involved in climate change, and they are really affected by these floods. And no one is talking about it. You can imagine a person with disabilities trying to move from one place to the other with this flood. What if persons who have no disability are finding it hard for them to move around? What about a person with a disability? So it is good to have intentional inclusions of persons with disabilities in climate change planning, and also include them in programming. Thank you.
Nairobi, now floods. This is a narrative that has always been there, and it will keep being there for as long as we are irresponsible. Because let's face it, as citizens, we are irresponsible. Companies are irresponsible. The state is irresponsible in itself. Because how come, as citizens, we dump everywhere? We keep throwing plastics everywhere. That is what's blocking our drainages. Companies are busy channeling effluents to places they're not supposed to channel them. And the state is busy using systems, disposal systems that existed during colonial times. So, I mean, up until we get responsible, we'll still keep talking about the same things.
The only solution for the floods is they make a better drainage system. That's the only solution. There's no any other way. We can't sugarcoat. Tumeswim in Nairobi, we are tired. Watutengeneze hizo drainage system. We don't care whether the water tables are high or hiyo ndo ilikuwa njia sijui ya maji sijui when. You know, they come up with so many theories, and at this point we are tired of hizo stories. We just want drainage system itengenezwe na ikuwe better, because people can't keep on losing lives because of negligence. Wacha tukufe because of natural causes, but not alibebwa na maji ama alikuwa electrocuted because alisimama kwa mali, there was, you know, live power. Yeah, so that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's his opinions of Kenyans there, that the systems should work. We should be talking a good game about things that we've known from before. They have been with us here. Very poignant as well is the mobility of persons with disabilities. Right now, do we consider them? I mean, where their ramps are not there, where they cannot actually now access maybe their workplace and some of the facilities as well that should be using, they inaccessible as it is right now. These people should be considered even in this particular time that we are living in. Strange times as we know it with the climate change. Just as we want to wind up on the talk of the floods, the issue of Nairobi County and the national government not coming together as it stands. It seems people have been, alluding to the fact that Nairobi should not be, a county, as it were. And we can go back to, I think, was it the draft in Naivasha, where we had the original Bombers craft. Nairobi was not essentially there originally to be a county, and that's why it's actually county number 47. Yeah, and which was added just at the last-ditch effort or the last minute, because it should be handled differently as a metropolis. People are arguing.
Yeah, Dibal, remember, even in the old system where we had about 7 provinces, Nairobi was considered extra province. Extra in the sense that it needed certain services and logistics to be put in place beyond just the normal province that you have in the old sense of the issue. And therefore, fast forward, the main mistake about Nairobi being included as any other county is the fact that at times we don't think beyond. We just look how we can fix each other politically, and in the process we lose the jewel that would have assisted us to have Nairobi as an extra county, a county that is given services beyond just the normal population and other considerations that we give in sharing the revenue. This therefore means that as a nation, we seem to forget that Nairobi, each one of us, as a piece of Nairobi, whether you are a tenant, whether you are a landlord, you have a piece of Nairobi, because most of the revenues that we collect nationally, over 50% will end up in Nairobi, either in purchasing or whether in collection of the revenue by KRA. A lot of it is collected in Nairobi by the sheer volume of business that takes place in Nairobi. The second issue that I want us to reflect is that the high-rise buildings that we are creating here is supposed to be something to consider in terms of water harvesting. You see, as you deal with any of the rivers that have ceased to be rivers, they have actually become like takataka collection channels. We must be asking ourselves, if you take a building, 16 floors, that means it's collecting water and it has occupied bigger space than the small house that was there. And therefore, all the water that would have been absorbed into the soil is going to run as part of the surface runoff. And that should have been considered, that you can even have some kind of temporary tank that collects that water from the building, then you chart it away to a place that will allow a smooth flow. And the very nature of Nairobi is that there's high places, including the community, and all that water will collect and go down. The second issue that I observed as I drove one of the evenings is that the expressway has also become another danger. All the water that is collected up on the expressway gets onto the normal road, and that becomes a flood, carrying away people, carrying away vehicles, and making it impossible to drive on the lower side. The third issue, which we also need to look at, the surface runoff. The color is either dark, which means that is a lot of nutrients being carried away, or it is like tea that has been overbrewed in all the places. Now, the fourth issue, which worries me, like in Sotik, you realize the bridge is actually almost below the river. This therefore means it should have been a lager or something else. And immediately there is a bit of water, the bridge is overrun by the amount of water. And some people lost their lives because of some of those places. This therefore means that any time somebody in City Hall or in County Hall here in Nairobi does an approval, he should be asking himself or herself, where does the water go into? Because it's not enough to talk about whether it's Nairobi River, whether it is any other river, the one from Junction, the one from, I think it should be from the other side, near Kikuyu. All that water is collected, and when you collect it, you create a flood. You see, the dam in Nairobi perhaps was meant to collect from higher places, to collect that water, so that you save people in South Sea and other places from being overrun by water. All that water is now going to South Sea and other lower parts of this city. And also our own habits. I saw in one of the clips a lady cooking and the flood is building up. Now, I don't know what happened later on. Either she was carried away with the sufrias, because we seem to have a courage that here is the river, I'm here under the bridge, and I'm cooking as if nothing is going wrong. So at times I feel it's excess bad manners that we have as a people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And of course, it's a shared responsibility, not only of government, also our behavioral change is very key in these very interesting times that we're living in. We take a short break. When we circle back, of course, we continue the conversation. A big day tomorrow with the NADCO report being presented, and we'll have also on the following day, that is on Wednesday, the Linda Mwananchi faction as well, coming with their own report about the NADCO report. So this is making a very interesting, of course, outcome of this particular deliberations tomorrow. We take a short break. When we circle back, we'll look at that and, of course, a raft of other issues that will be rising as well. Don't go away.
Mwai Kibaki said in 1988, William Ruto, Kithure Kindiki, CS Rocco, trying to divide the mountain is like trying to cut the Mugumo tree with a laser blade. It's an exercise in futility. It will not work. It will not happen. This mountain is one. Na kura yetu tutapiga kikapu moja. Tutapigia rais moja yule tutasikizana. Si ndio? Our vote is only meaningful when it's one. Na sisi tutaungana na Wakenya wengine. Sasa tuko hapa Mount Kenya, West, East and South. Combined, karibu kura milioni 10. Si ndio? Solid, 10. Kabla hatujaanza hesabu. Tumeshikana na our cousin from Kisii. Iko ingine moja, 1.5. Tumeshikana na watu ya Mlembe Nation, iko 4. Mijikenda, iko ingine 2. Huyu jamaa tunataka tumugonge na 16-17 million ndio aende nyumbani without any issue.
Tuna operation inaitwa fagia. Inaitwa nini? Nikisema harambee unasema fagia. Harambee! Harambee! Wasaliti, Rendekire, Kaduri Murungi, Kairemia, Sapurano, na Kasongo. Na Kasongo. Wangapi nasema tufagie Kasongo, tufagie Kasongo.
Wacha nione 4-term ya fireman. 4-term ya fireman. I'm telling you. Leo watatafuta Brufen. Leo watafute Brufen. Waende wasiende. Waende wasiende. Waende wasiende. Ni fire si fire. Ni noma si noma. Ni mbwekse si mbwekse. Ni fire si fire. Wewe Rigathi Gachagua, nimekuambia uniheshimu. Wewe Rigathi Gachagua, nimekuambia uniheshimu. Bado haujasikia. Lazima uniheshimu. Wewe siku ile ulikuwa kwa kiti, mimi sikukuzumbua. Mimi nilikuwa waziri wa usalama, nilikuwa napigana na magaidi. Ukiwa deputy rais, badala ya kusaidia rais alete hospitali, alete soko, alete barabara, ulienda kupigana na rais, ndio ukafukuzwa, ukatoka kwa kiti. Wachana na mimi. Sasa mimi ndio nimekalia. Wachana na mimi. Nitengeneze Meru, nitengeneze Mount Kenya, nitengeneze Kenya.
Well, for some moment I thought actually I'm listening to a football commentary there. Even Brufen now has actually come into the public lexicon. You need a Brufen. Yeah, it's a painkiller. So what is really happening on the ground is just getting nasty. As you can see, that was in Meru yesterday, and the altercation between now the former deputy president and the current president. And this is all about the Mount Kenya vote and that particular seat in Meru. As we know it, that is with the deputy president right now. That is the deputy presidency that we're truly talking about, and a host of people who are supporting that particular seat seems to be coming from Mount Kenya. A very ticklish issue that is arising right now. I just want to hear from you, Hesbon, just listening to the deputy president right now. Very fiery. Some of the Monica's there, they are going way, above my head. I just got Brufen, Fire Si Fire. The other was a Begzweta or something. What was that? I don't even know.
Bwekse.
Bweze. Okay, that one goes way beyond my ken. Yeah, you can tell us more. That's Bwekse. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. What I would first, maybe before we get there,
yes,
there's something that I forgot which I felt was very important, that the current technology allows us to simulate the hydrological surface run of water, and even the rain pattern, and even rainfall levels that would expose our various regions like this city to flooding. And therefore you can actually know on paper what kind of flooding levels you can get to with this level of rainfall, and therefore you can plan and design the systems in such a way that you're able to correctly work on the expected rainfall pressures and just ensure that the systems are able to cope. And therefore, when you work on the drainage system, you're working with what is already looking at a worst case scenario. And I think that would help the governor of this city do better. So I want to encourage the leadership, think outside the box and plan better. This city had a master plan. What happened to it? If we don't get back to those basics so that we design things in a manner that fits there, we'll get lost. But now back to the politics of the mountain. I didn't know that in 1988, Mwai Kibaki mentioned Mugumo tree in the context of Mount Kenya. I thought it was about dislodging KANU from power. But all the same, it's an interesting conversation. I see the current DP and the former DP have they've had quite some duel. We've had the 2 by-elections in Mount Kenya, especially in Embu, where I think, I don't know whether to call it round 1, but Rigiji says the main one is coming. So it's a very interesting conversation, the Brufen that has to be taken. So it's a contest of who has the control of the mountain. And I think for the deputy president, it's a do or die, because the general expectation of the president is that his deputy should be able to also pull his weight behind him. And therefore, he must camp and ensure that he's able to sway the votes, especially from the vote-rich Mount Kenya region, to support his boss. But not just that. I think there's also the aspect of synergy about leadership and also just ensuring that whatever the conversations we have in our various public fora, we do not lose sight of the picture of the nation. Because ultimately, I hear Rigiji counting votes from one area to the other, and you start asking yourself, if you're not from those areas that are counted, how is your vote supposed to look like? So yes, of course, all politics is local, but there has to be a way through which our leadership also allow conversations to be about issues. And I like what he mentioned about what may not be working in Nairobi. But again, what is your solution? If you say the governor has to go and the president have to go because they've failed to perform, you also need to offer an alternative way or solution rather than just they must go. They must go if they're not done well, but your solution must also target issues. So I would expect, for example, if you talk about flood mitigation that has failed over the years, you give a concrete counter plan so that people appreciate that what you're proposing is going to work.
So it's not really an empty rhetoric, you know.
Should not.
It's not a one-term, two-term issue.
Yes, it has to go beyond one term.
Especially now that they've changed, you know, their name to the alternative government.
Yes.
More is expected from the alternative government. If it was opposition, of course, it will really fly. That two-term, one-term snoggling, that will suffice. But alternative government, as you mentioned it, what is, you know, the remediate action and discernible difference you can bring, you as the alternative government? And Kathy, you are in the alternative government as it stands. Are you happy just listening also to one of your principals?
First of all, let me correct that. I'm not in the alternative government.
You're not?
Actually do not understand them. I've been there. I was there at some point. My senior Waziri Kirwa I have been with him on that side of politics. But definitely...
So you never made an official disassociation? So that we know when was the departure.
It's okay. I can assure you that to me there are more problems in that side of opposition, whether they call themselves the United Opposition or the alternative government, whatever they call themselves. Because, you know, it's actually a one-man show. It's a one-man show, and you can see the problems that they're having. And that is what me depart from that group. Because the alternative government or the United Opposition, and I repeat this all the time, is Rigathi Gachagua. And he has made it very clear. He's the one who calls the shot. He's the MC in all functions. He's the one who decides who to speak and whom not to speak. I mean, you've seen even my former party SG, Honorable Kioni, say that he would not attend any other meeting by the alternative government where the mic is just given to, you know, a certain group of people or aspirants. I mean, having said that, I come from Mount Kenya region, and I will tell you this for a fact. I arrived back in Nairobi yesterday. after being in Nyeri for about 3 days. Whatever Rigathi Gachagua says is not reflected on the ground, and that is a fact. People are quite unhappy with the current government. That is true. And he found them in opposition. By the time he was being impeached, he found the people of Mount Kenya in the opposition. That's a fact. But the people of Mount Kenya are not behind him to the man. You know, there's something that he keeps repeating. That I have these, in fact, today I've heard him talk about 10 million votes. Which 10 million votes? I don't think we have 10 million votes in that region. And he seems, he wants to make everybody else believe that all these people will follow him. If he says that we are going to vote for X, they will vote for X because Gachagua has done. That is not true. And the reason why I say it is not true, and it is good to be very objective when we are looking at these things. If that was the case, then how did we lose the Mbeere North parliamentary seat? If that was the case, how did we lose the 2 MCA positions again in Mbeere? I think for the first time, what I see in Mount Kenya region myself, and I speak as an aspirant and someone who comes from the region, I've ran there not once, not twice. We are going to have candidates from very many political parties. There's even a possibility of having independent people voted in as independent candidates. And the reason that, I mean, as to why that will happen is because the leader of this alternative government or united opposition is too divisive. You go to Meru, you know, I've just listened to him. You go to Meru and you tell the people of Meru, Fagia. And you start by saying, Senator Kathuri, Fagia. Governor XYZ, Fagia. What are you telling the people of Meru? You cannot say that just because you disagreed with William Samoei Ruto, then everybody else who follows William Samoei Ruto must go home. You know, that's the problem. But then when I look at the two gentlemen, you know, I happen to know both of them. You know, Rigathi Gachagua as someone I've contested with, and of course, His Excellency Kithure Kindiki as a leader from the region that I have interacted with since TNE. And Kindiki has really changed. You know, for those of us who knew him, I didn't even expect that he would change that fast to do a very combative kind of campaign.
So you found him out of character?
No, really. I think it's mutation. It's political mutation. When Gachagua speaks the way he speaks, I'm not surprised. I know him. That's how he does his politics. But for Kithure Kindiki, I'm a bit excited, you know, looking at him and saying Bwekse and repeating this fire, see fire. But I know he's being forced, he's being pushed into doing that because of how the ground is. I mean, Kenyans are struggling with the very, very basic. You know, at times when we focus so much on these 1-term, 2-term, and tunatoa huyu, tunaingiza huyu, or we're doing all these kind of things, how come none of them, even as I listened to them yesterday and the other day, apart from these banters and the exchange and the heat that is emanating from those rallies that they are addressing, who is addressing the real issue that Mwananchi is facing? You know? And I want to tell you something about Wanjiku the voter. At times, as politicians, when we go to the ground, we behave like the people who came to Waziri's rally are different from the people who will come to my rally, yet you're going to the same locality. You know, our people look and view politics from a point of entertainment. I can assure you, the people who were with Kindiki yesterday were the same people who were with Gachagua on Saturday. So we need to take serious, even Wanjiku, ourselves as voters, we need to start interrogating and taking politics seriously. Because it means then that the first day, these are the same people who chanted 1 term. Yesterday, because I've listened to Kithure Kindiki there, and even as he's saying, nitakufukuza, nitakutoa Meru, achana na mimi, see, there are people chanting. It's the same people. It's the same people. So it also complicates the arithmetics of anybody thinking that he has an entire Mount Kenya to himself. Yeah, you don't have it. You don't have it.
Okay.
And this time around, I think the voters have become more, you know, pliable. they are being manipulated more, and I think it's because of the poverty. If you look at whether you want to look at the economy has shrunk, the middle class is shrinking, people are suffering more. So the politicians are just playing with the minds of Wanjiku, and it is very unfortunate.
Thank you. Let me just come to you, Kipruto Arap Kiro, because what also Kathy raises, it's very key in the person of Rigathi Gachagua as it stands right now, that he's sort of a maverick who's really running this campaign machine all by his own. He's a man who is calling the shots on who should be actually on the podium speaking at the end of the day. You also, you tend to sit with these leaders, you advise them as it is moving forward, because it seems it's not what we perceive as, wananchi, the perception that is being given that the Mount Kenya is formidable. Just listening to Kathy, it is not true on the ground. Even the numbers that are being touted, where is the metrics? How confirmable are they? What scientific method do they use to say, we're at 10 million votes. If we combine with this other region, 17, and they will go home at the end of the day. The person of Rigathi Gachagua will be the undoing of alternative government. Is that so?
Well, figures, every politician, and I've done 7 elections where I was a candidate. I lost 3, I won 4. This therefore means I can talk with a measure of authority on how you can project your winning and your losses. Perhaps out of the 7, in one of them I knew slightly earlier that things were not going my way. And in the others that I won, I had already prepared myself for that. But that is really not a measure or political barometer. What we need to do, and perhaps more important, is for us to improve our political hygiene, so that when we talk about figures, they are figures that can be reflected on the ground and they can be confirmed by the people. And the little I heard of Rigathi Gachagua, by the time he was talking of 10 million votes, it was not Mount Kenya alone. And remember, Mount Kenya is not the 5 counties or the 7 or 9 counties. It goes beyond that. There is Mount Kenya diaspora, including places like Nakuru and places like Laikipia, and of course the city of Nairobi. It may not be per se in Mount Kenya, but it is part and parcel of the Mount Kenya thinking. And the little that I know about Mount Kenya, because 20% of my constituents are from the same community, and most of them came from Kiambu. The little I know about them is that they have a communication system that surprised us in Kanu in 1992, because the person we feared most was Kibaki. But on the eve of elections, there was some communication that took place that Matiba became very formidable. As to whether Gachagua is going to be a factor, yes, Gachagua is likely to be a factor, not only in the next election, but many other elections to come. So for those who may not like his voice, his appearance, or his approach to politics, learn to know that Gachagua will be in town, barring natural disasters, for quite some time. And as to whether it's going to be a boon to the opposition, personally, as a political analyst and somebody who has done a bit of politics and read a bit of it also, I will not wish away Gachagua. Gachagua is an integral member, and what we are doing as the alternative government, which we are, because William Ruto will not be running around helter-skelter if we do not constitute anything. He's focused on Kalonzo, he's focused on Gachagua, and a few other people. But I can analyze without fear of contradiction that this race is a race of Ruto's life. He has to win it, or he will lose it, and he will go home miserably. But that is not really my intention. My intention is to identify what are the pitfalls in the way we are approaching 2027. One of the issues is the use of police. The other issue is the use of goons. If you encourage goons, and this is advice I can give to Kenya Kwanza, if you encourage goons in where you feel you may have the upper hand, you are also making it impossible for you to penetrate areas you would have gotten some votes. And this is something they ought to learn. As to whether the rest of the country is going to respond, Kenyans think in a way that at some stage they'll be unanimous that this is not doable or that we can give a chance to William Ruto. Omolo has said that we don't count. When we talk of ODM supporters, they affect the areas where he comes from, and therefore we need all the votes. Finally, for this particular issue, Gachagua may be abrasive to some people, but what I know is that we want to create a team of individuals who are not going to say, it is I, me, myself. We want to create a team where people realize collectively we can achieve more than achieving as an individual.
But let me come to you also, Honorable Kirwa, because you as a person, you've had also the same special umbrage with the personality in the president, right? That I'm a me, myself, and I person. And now you come also to the alternative government, you're meeting the same personality of me, myself, and I. Right? What you're escaping now, jumping from the pan, you're actually now jumping into the fire as it is right now. So how then will you contend with the same personality where you are actually coming from, when you used to be with...
There's a lot of work we are doing behind the scenes. I've done a document over 250 pages. And all that is to use my experience, my knowledge, my education, my capacity to analyze issues in a way that we create a team. And to create a team, you need about 3 stages. We've formed, we are bonded, we are now norming before we perform. And when you people talk about us presenting a manifesto, ask yourself, since 1963, how many months do you present your manifesto? We are criticizing Kenya Kwanza on the basis of their own manifesto. You told us this, you are not doing it. But our manifesto will be presented on the right time when we feel issues now need to crystallize on the final stretch to the next general election.
But the crystallizations needs to be coming now, as just Kathy is saying.
That's why,
as you've touted yourself as an alternative government.
We are.
Sloganeering will not be now flying with Kenyans. Kenyans wants to hear alternative government. See, what do you have on the table?
Who is given taxes?
As a craftsman, I know.
Yes,
you're very good in giving technocrats advice.
Yes.
And also that document you're working on. Right? I think it's a high time right now. People see this is the alternative government. We used to have the kitchen cabinet on the floor of the house, and we couldn't hear. You know, some of the policies they suggest that is countering, you know, the main government by then. This is what we want to hear. This is the kitchen cabinet or a government in waiting, and they have alternatives for Kenyans.
We do have, and we'll be releasing our milestones at the right time. We cannot just, on the behest of somebody who has failed on his own program, try to present an alternative when it is not time for that. What we're doing is very clear. We have a clear timeline on when to present one issue. And one of the issues is that we shall exercise out of our political language the issue of taking public resources like personal resources. That is something that we were very clear. We have been looking at the models that they are presented in terms of share, in terms of education, and we'll be able to present to the people of Kenya what is our alternative thinking. That is the way it is. But when we fall to the narrative of William Ruto, telling us that we don't have this, we don't have this, even we don't have brains, which school did you go that we did not go?
Right.
Yeah.
Gachagua is on record. But Gachagua is on record actually saying, you know, some of the legislators around me, they are not even, cannot be even compared with the ODM legislators. We need brains. Isn't he the one who actually said we need brains also within the alternative, alternative.
We are there.
He needs brains. So when he sits around, he sees very consummate, seasoned senior counsel. So isn't that the case? He has said it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has said it. I think regarding Gachagua, just like she had mentioned earlier, while he may be bringing some advantages to the opposition, he's doing more damage to the opposition than good. Not long ago when he addressed the media in Mount Kenya and he mentioned Mungu ni nani, Raila is normal. The way that is felt elsewhere is massive, and Raila had a massive following. So now, those who believed in Raila will say anything associated with him They banned everybody in his corner to that unwanted. So he's helped the president consolidate spaces that the president would struggle to convince people to vote for him. That's just one example. Two, combined opposition is good. The biggest test they will have is at the point when they decide who is our candidate. And you already see bigwigs. The formation around Jubilee is so convicted that that candidate is Matiang'i. But you look at all their resume, then it reminds you of 2002. Despite having all manner of leaders around the NAC formation, the settlement around Kibaki was almost unanimous. First, because he was the oldest. Two, he had done better than everybody else in the past elections. So he had come very close to that position. So it was very easy for even Raila to say Kibaki tosha, because they knew within that formation he was the most experienced. If you threw that same dice in the current position, you will struggle to get outside the space of Kalonzo Musyoka, because he's been to the ballot, he's had that test of that space, he feels he's the oldest amongst that generation, and he also comes with this solid vote block. Then the question is, if he was to go that direction, who would be his running mate? That is when now you start seeing some spaces that look very strong would scatter. The advantage President Ruto has is that it is clear he is the candidate and he's defending his position. His biggest undoing would be, how would he justify his performance over the last 5 years to the Kenyan people? And for me, it's all about packaging and communication. Because if you look at what he's done, there are so many good things he can count. Where he may have failed, or his team has failed him, is that the communication about the scorecard has largely been within his purview and probably his deputy. The rest of the team have not come out very, very strongly around how they communicate their successes. But the reality is, you look at the economy in 2022, he will tell you people were carrying jerrycans to get fuel in petrol stations. Not anymore. We had subsidies on food, we had subsidies on fuel. We no longer have them. Our currency had a bit of turbulence, which people will say it rose during my tenure as a president, but he has a justification that there was an impending Eurobond that messed that space that he was able to fix. That there are certain things he's doing right, of course not everything. When he talks about affordable housing, almost everywhere is a construction site. But the common man who is a taxpayer will also ask certain questions. That my disposable income has been reduced. How do you explain this in the context of national development? And I think those are the things between the next now and next year he needs to work around so that he has a narrative that justifies. You know, the common man will tell you, I'm happy you've taxed me, but I can't see the benefit. So if Shire works, it will be very difficult to ask the president some of these questions. Because some of these things are very personal. If you go to hospital and you're treated and you don't pay, or if you are going through dialysis as a person who has kidney problems, and you walk into a public and private hospital and you walk out free. Eventually, even if you die because it's a chronic disease, but then you say the government took care of this, I didn't have to sell my land. Are these stories available in the country? And those are very personal things. So the opposition needs to really craft the language. They will say education system failed, but he will tell you, I've hired 100 and something thousand new teachers over the last 2-3 years, something that has not been done. He will bring that out. He will say, Kenya last tried to host an international event in 1996, and we lost that chance to South Africa because we could not have the right stadia. For the first time last year, we held an African event, and now we're having Africa Cup of Nations in Kenya because Talanta Stadium has been built. The last major stadium was built during Moi in the 80s. What does that communicate even to the young people around certain spaces? Others will say, oh, but you've borrowed through whatever, it's costing 100 billion over that period. But he will also tell you, any government borrowing, whether domestic or otherwise, over the duration of its lifetime is more or less the same thing. So he has a story he can tell. So the opposition needs to do a bit of homework on how they're going to counter him. But having said that, ultimately, I would disagree slightly with the Waziri. Yes, you don't have to tell us your manifesto now. But when you criticize and say this is wrong, this should have been done this way. If they shift gears and implement, you'll say you implemented our idea. And I think it has helped the nation. But if you criticize, don't offer an alternative, the Kenyans keep suffering, then what is your responsibility? Because if you look at the nexus and the structure of government, legislative things are done in parliament, which is bicameral. They are all
the alternative
political.
is them coming to government so that they can implement what they do have.
Of course, there is what they will do when they get there, but some of these things that cannot wait, then it's just good to point them out. And I like what they're doing. Sometimes pointing out certain things that may be well-meaning in design, but may be crafted badly, that may hurt the country. Like now we had the issue of Adani, and as much as we really needed the airport improved, the manner in which it was executed was wrong. And coming out to say this is wrong was a very good thing. So to that extent, they're also right that they say, here, the government has done things wrong, we did point out. If the issues of disrupting their rallies, why should Kirwa's public rally be disrupted? On that, I think the government should leave them. But also, there are two sides to some of these conversations. We've had people confess that I abducted myself, for example. So it's a very dicey space. So sometimes you don't even know where the truth lies. But it is the responsibility of the government. If I lie on something, arrest me.
Thank you.
But if I have a rally, do not disrupt my rally.
I think.
Right, thank you. Kathy, can you just hold this so that we can get some feedback a bit from our viewers as well who are chiming in on the conversation, and then we continue apace with the last leg of it. Of course, we want to also be looking at the NADCO report that will be presented tomorrow. But let's just check on what some of the views are from the viewers. All right, let's see what is coming through. This is from Joram Ngoe, and he's saying a unique region which makes the decision and the leaders follow, failure to which they are swept by the tide. Yes, just commenting on the previous conversation we were having on the floods. Nobody control them. They decide themselves. Politicians follow them. Okay. All right, we have Harlan K. Philemon saying, last by-election showed who controls the mountain. This is just the recent by-elections that happened. And also we have Adamson Muriki saying, ignorance. We have Simpson saying, Uhuru Kenyatta. Patrick Ndemange, my President Uhuru Kenyatta kabisa ni fire. We have Adams hapa kwa Murima, hatupendi porojo kavu. And Sami Ole Ekabu, money by 2032 tutakuwa na story ingine, right? Who is Kindiki? Mtu kwao ni, well, I think that is an expletive there. Okay, mtu kwao ni matope na road na amekuwa kwa government for over 20 years. I thought maybe atamuita matope, but we get now the reasoning there. We have Dismas Oigoro, Uhuru na Rigiji. G hao wengine ni kwa gazeti. Tunasoma tu watu kwa mlima sio wajinga. Na bila mlima Ruto anajua yeye ni one term. Alright, presenter Kibali Eric, Uhuru akiongea siku moja wote wanaenda missing. The son of Jomo has the heart of the mountain. Ni venye haongeagi sana. Yeah, those are comments which are coming through from the viewers there regarding just the conversation. I want to before we go to the NADCO report, Bloomberg data has ranked Kenya's shilling among the world's 5 most stable currencies after holding firm against the dollar for over a year. I thought maybe I should also mention about this particular news regarding where we stand. Nairobi Stock Exchange, has become one of the robust in Africa, second after Egypt, as it stands right now. Well, we can have all this cacophony about one term, two term as it stands. But some also good work is coming from where the government is, especially when it comes to stabilizing the shilling. We can see what is happening with Iran and USA right now. That is bound to be adversely affecting, of course, the shilling. But it has stood strong. Will it still remain there? That's another question of the day. But you wanted to say something before I batted it?
Yeah, and it seems, you know, it's actually connected to what you've just said. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say that the conversation that built the opposition from where I sit, mm-hmm. and I'm not talking about the alternative, whatever, in the united opposition. That conversation was around the economy. Even the protests by the young people, the Gen Zs, they went to the street because of the economy. Mm-hmm. And because the economy, when it bites, it affects everything else. You know, if you don't have money in your pocket, then education will be affected, health will be affected. You cannot even feed your family. And it was felt, or people have been feeling it, from that level of the household. It's commendable. I mean, some of the ratings that we keep getting, especially from both development partners and the outside eye, it's good and it is commendable, and it's something that we should actually be proud of. However, that needs to have a trickle-down effect. It has to be felt at the very, very low level. Because if a person does not have money even to feed their own family or their own children, then, I mean, you can talk about these big things at a national level, but it will not make sense to the common mwananchi. And therefore, when noise is made at that low level, that noise can translate into very many other things. So what I wanted to say, the reason as to why the alternative government does not have an agenda, a clear agenda, and every time you ask them about the agenda, they want to say that why does Ruto want us to give our plan? When we talk about the economic crimes that have happened in this country, and some of them were even pronounced during the impeachment, some of them have been pronounced, especially for some of us who come from Nyeri County. We know how much money we lost at some point through some supplies that never happened, and a lot of money was lost. And therefore, they cannot address that biting question around the issue of the economy. Because when we do our politics, we want to appear as if we are very clean. We want to say that people are looting, while you were the looter of the other day, the looter of last year. When you change forest, you move from government and you join the opposition, you want to blame the others of the same crimes that you are committing. Do you know, the real revolutionaries, the people who are going to bring change in this country are not the old people. And I say this with a lot of respect to our fathers, our grandfathers, even my friend Kirwa, who have served in government and served very well. The problem with the old people is that they only know how to do politics the same way. And now they are doing it same way, expecting different results. Same monkeys, different forests. The people who were in government last year and the other year, and yet they did not see any problem with government when looting was happening because they were in government. Yet when they are pushed out of government and come to this other side, they join us in a chorus. The young people had an opportunity, and I still believe that that opportunity is still there, of changing this nation. And by the way, this election of 2027 might just surprise very many of us. Because the two groups, the one term and the two term, are only used to doing politics in a certain way. They are only used to forming a coalition here, a new political party here, and then you pull your friends and you come together. The young people, the millennials and the Gen Zs, we are tired. We are tired because that is what has put us in these problems. If we were to become very genuine and have an honest conversation about the issues that bedevil this country, we really know them. But nobody wants to touch that. Because people want to play safe, form the next government. And then after a year, after 2 years, watu wakosane, And then you come out and tell us that, you know, the other side, those people are very bad. No. We must change the way we do politics. The reason why people do not have real issues or real solution to sell to Anjiko is because they are part of the problem.
Thank you. And I think also time is really running low on us, but it will remiss of us not to really just mention, just briefly, tomorrow's event at KICC. Everyone has been eagerly waiting to see, you know, the implementation of a NADCO report. They will say it has been implemented piecemeal by piecemeal. The last time I had it was 65%, but also there will be sort of a rejoinder following the implementation or the presentation of a report tomorrow to the president and, of course, also the leader of ODM. This is Oburu. I wonder what you have to say regarding this latest development we do have tomorrow.
Well, first of all, let us look at the issues that were raised by Omolo in terms of our approach to issues of politics. It cannot be said that we are saying nothing when we are looking at the audited reports. We were talking of 11 billion the other day, but now we are at 1 trillion, money disappearing to e-citizen, and we do not know where does it go. We cannot say we're not talking about all these issues when we know the focus of our constitution is issues of governance. And the issues the GNCs were raising at the time they were in the streets were not only issues of economy, it was issues of governance, saying we want to see more transparency in terms of government, and that is what we are talking about. It is also incumbent upon us to be honest instead of making it an issue so personal. I'm happy Kadhi Rungu started as saying she was part of the opposition, but I'm now confirmed beyond any reasonable doubt that she is somebody who is gravitating towards the government, but she does not know how to navigate her route to that particular position. When it comes to the issue of NADCO, remember, out of the 10 issues that were raised, 8 of them were purely administrative, and we did not need to have told the government that particular issue. I've listened to Sifuna carefully talk about that particular report, that they had given certain individuals a chance to highlight the issues that were needed for purposes of ensuring that something comes out that they will be able to sign in terms of these broad-based issues. And some of the issues raised in the NADCO report were also raised in trying to craft a broad-based government structure. I do expect that that report perhaps may not meet the end of the day, the light of the day, because some of it are issues that presume the government never existed before the issue of NADCO was done. Like many issues were administrative that the government of the day ought to have implemented without necessarily having that particular discussion entered. Some of the issues are constitutional. I do not know whether we have capacity to deal with the constitution between now and the next general election, or are we going to have a package that will be inbuilt in the next election as you vote for so-and-so, so vote for this section of the constitution to be amended to meet certain requirements.
Thank you. Right.
I think my expectation tomorrow on the NADCO report, and I think yesterday in Siaya, the leader of ODM alluded to it, that some of the things are work in progress. You cannot implement all the issues in NADCO report within a year. So some of them are evolving things, like respect for human rights, issues of that nature. You can just look at things how they are. How bad are they compared to when they were where we were a year or so ago? Issues of electoral reforms, some of them have happened. Issues of inclusivity, I think since then there's been more shared appointment in public service across the country. Some of them when ODM brought in some the so-called experts. So there's been certain things you can speak to, but some of them are continuous, and therefore what I expect tomorrow is just a a status or a scorecard of where that is.
Thank you.
But it's not something that ends
tomorrow. Yes.
No.
Okay. Let's hear from Kathy.
I mean, as a former member of Azimio Party and someone who believed very seriously in Baba Raila Odinga, I hope that the 10-point agenda will be implemented. It will be honorable, you know, even in his death, to implement it as a plan. We know that all this cannot be done, you know, like within the remaining 2 years or something, but there needs to be a roadmap into achieving what Baba fought for. You know, almost his entire political, you know, during his times when he was doing politics actively. So it will be in his honor, and we are looking forward.
Indeed. Thank you. Kipruto Arab Kirwa, thank you for coming through as well. As Bonomolo, we really do appreciate your input this morning. And Kathy Rungu, what a trenchant discussion we've had this morning. Because of constraints of time, of course, we cannot continue. We're seeing it's 8 o'clock, and I can already see Kotela Macy and Freda Rocho and Duncan Mutua standing by, waiting to give us the Monday Blitz. So I want to thank you so very much. We eagerly wait for tomorrow. On Wednesday as well, Sifuna said they'll give also their report regarding the NADCO report itself that has not been implemented at all, according to Edwin Sifuna. We'll take a short break right now. When we circle back, we continue with the Monday Blitz.